All right, welcome. Today, we are diving deep into the really surprising and honestly beautiful science of what makes therapy actually work. And I'm going to bet the answer isn't what you think. It's a story that involves Alice in Wonderland, brains that literally fire in harmony, and the measurable biological power of just being truly seen by another person. Okay, let's get into it.
So, we're going to start with this kind of strange quote. It's from the dodo bird in Alice in Wonderland. It comes right after this totally chaotic race where nobody knew when it started or when it ended or who was even winning. And his solution? Everybody has won and all must have prizes. A pretty weird place to kick off a science explainer, right? Well, believe it or not, that exact line sparked one of the biggest and most fascinating mysteries in the entire field of psychology. See, way back in 1936, a psychologist named Saul Rosenweg noticed something completely baffling about psychotherapy. And he borrowed that dodo bird's line to describe what he found, kicking off this huge debate that's lasted for decades and that we're only just now solving with modern neuroscience.
And this is it, the dodo bird verdict. He found that whether you were doing CBT or psychodynamic therapy or really any other approach, they all seemed to work about equally well. Everybody has won and all must have prizes. Now, for decades, this drove researchers absolutely nuts. They just assumed the specific techniques were the real treatment. So that one common thing across all of them, the relationship between the therapist and the client, well, that was just dismissed. They called it a non-specific factor, basically background noise.
But what if we've had it completely backwards this whole time? What if that so-called non-specific factor wasn't just background noise at all? What if it's actually the most specific, the most powerful, and the most important part of healing there is?
And here we have it, the solution to the dodo bird's riddle. You see, modern neuroscience is proving what the best therapists have kind of known in their gut for a century. This connection, it isn't just a nice to have. It's a measurable biological intervention. It is the active ingredient. And the wildest part? We can actually watch it happen now. So let's get into the hard science of it. We're going to see exactly how a feeling of connection, of being seen and heard, translates into real, tangible, physiological changes in our brains and in our bodies. And I want to be clear, this isn't a metaphor. This is biology.
Okay, it all starts with something called mirror neurons. When a therapist is really, truly listening, it creates what's called neurophysiological synchrony. It means their brain isn't just processing your words. Key parts of their brain involved in emotion and empathy actually start to fire in harmony with yours. It's a shared neural experience. Empathy isn't just a nice idea. It's your brain's literally syncing up, getting on the same wavelength.
And this connection, it goes even deeper than the brain. It runs through our entire nervous system. You know, our bodies are in this constant, silent conversation with each other. Polyvagal theory explains that when we're with someone who has a calm voice or a steady presence, our own nervous system gets the unconscious signal, you are safe. This is called pro-regulation. One calm, regulated nervous system can literally soothe another one, moving us out of a state of fight or flight and into a state of connection. And we can measure this in the most incredible way. Scientists can track something called heart rate variability. It's basically a key marker of a calm, resilient nervous system. They found that when a therapist and a client are really in sync, their heart rhythms start to synchronize too. And get this, the level of that synchrony can predict a positive outcome in therapy with 73% accuracy. Our bodies know when the connection is real, sometimes way better than our conscious minds do. So our brains are syncing up, our hearts are syncing up. That's incredible all by itself. But the impact doesn't just stop when the session is over. These moments of true connection aren't just fleeting. They create lasting structural changes inside the brain. You can think of a safe, secure therapeutic relationship as a workout for your brain. It triggers a flood of positive neurochemicals, like oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone. But it also physically changes the brain's architecture. We literally see an increase in the volume of the hippocampus, which is crucial for managing stress. We see stronger connections being built between the logical, thinking part of the brain and the emotional part. That means better emotional regulation. You're actually reorganizing your own brain.
You know, the whole mind-body connection thing can sound like a bit of a cliche, but the science here is just undeniable. We now know for a fact that chronic stress and emotional distress create this low-grade, persistent inflammation all through the body. And what's remarkable is that a therapeutic relationship can have a measurable anti-inflammatory effect. And here's the proof. Studies show that these kinds of psychosocial interventions,
Therapies that are built on connection can reduce a key inflammatory marker in your blood called IL-6. And we're not talking about a tiny dip. We're talking about a drop of up to 35%.
Just let that sink in for a second. A healing human relationship can produce an anti-inflammatory effect in your body that is comparable to some medications. Presence, listening, connection, these things can be as potent as a prescription. What this really means is that healing our relational wounds is, in a very real and literal sense, biological healing. So, all of this science is really demanding a radical shift in how we even think about mental health. We have to move from that old model, the expert fixing a broken brain with a prescription. In this new paradigm, the focus is on stewarding the relational field. The therapist's real expertise isn't just their authority, it's their capacity for attunement. And the goal isn't just to manage symptoms, it's to mirror the brain back into a state of coherence and wholeness.
Okay, so what does all this neuroscience actually mean for you if you're looking for help? Why does this matter? Well, it matters because it empowers you to trust what you feel. Because what you feel is a direct reflection of this deep biological process that's going on. When you're looking for a therapist, these questions right here are way more important than what specific technique they use. Do you feel safe? Do they seem genuinely present with you? Does your body seem to relax when you're with them? These aren't soft factors. They're direct indicators of whether that healing biological field is being created. They are the primary healing mechanism. So trust your nervous system. It knows. And this leads to something that is so important. If you've tried therapy before and it didn't really help, it doesn't mean that you are broken or resistant to treatment. It might just mean that the connection, that essential relational field, it wasn't the right fit. The treatment is the relationship, and finding the right one is absolutely key. Which brings us to a final, really big thought. For so long, we've come at healing with this idea that something inside of us is broken and that it needs to be fixed. But what if this new science is pointing us toward a much more profound and much more beautiful truth? Maybe the ultimate goal of all this complex neuroscience, the mirror neurons, the co-regulation, the brain rewiring, is really just this: to create a space where you are seen and heard and felt so completely that you remember the wholeness that was there inside you all along. That's it for this explainer. Thanks so much for joining me.